Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pedagogical Differences Between Media and the Sections Framework by yours truly, Anitra Thompson. So, in this presentation, I'm comparing three technologies. So, the first one would be Edpuzzle, Sarago, and MindTap, which is a Cengage learning platform, and it's like a mastery training tool, and then ChatGPT. And this is to explore how different media supports learning in different ways. So I'll look at their affordances, instructional benefits, and learning theories, and then apply the section's framework to a higher ed little digital learning scenario toward the end. And then, of course, follow up with key takeaways or references. So, when we talk about meaningful technology integration, the goal isn't just adding digital tools. It starts with what a technology actually allows learners to do and then connecting those strengths to instructional goals. So, strategy comes last, not first. And that thinking process helps ensure technology supports learning instead of distracting from it. And to explore some pedagogical differences, I'm focusing on these three tools that represent different learning. And one is interactive video, the other is like the adaptive mastery training, and then AI supported learning at the end, since we all know that's so influential right now. And so to get into Edpuzzle, it's a strong example of how video actually changes learning. Instead of passive viewing, instructors can pause the content, they can even insert questions, and then guide attention during those key moments. And from a multimedia like learning perspective, students process both visual and auditory information. So this helps build understanding of those complex topics. And for example, in a digital course environment, Edpuzzle could be used to introduce like a really challenging concept like before class, and then embedded checkpoints help the learners reflect as they watch instead of waiting until afterward. And instructionally, this creates structure and encourages active participation rather than a passive consumption. Now we go on to Sarago, which again is a feature or an app in our learning platform MindTap at Cengage. And I work at Cengage as a customer success specialist, so I constantly work with instructors and help them build their courses within our systems and also connect them to their own learning management systems. But to go into some detail on what this is and how we use it, so Sarago represents a very different pedagogical approach. Instead of storytelling, its affordances focus on adaptive mastery and then spaced retention. So inside MindTap, Sarago adjusts practice based on learner performance. So it's aligning with mastery learning principles. And students revisit material over time, strengthening long term retention. And a practical example might be reinforcing terminology or foundational concepts across a semester or a term. And the system actually spaces review like pretty strategically, which helps prevent forgetting or study cramming, trying to learn it, binging, study binging. And this makes Serigo especially effective for that reinforcement. Also, it's less suited for like open ended collaboration and exploration, unfortunately, as it does lean more toward I guess, an individual purpose. And what it does here, as you can see in my pictures, is I included what it would look like in proficiency. So you can set a level of proficiency in that um, left picture here that you want students to work to. So if you want them to be a master, you can put it all the way to the bottom and it'll take them weeks to complete that concept. Or you can put it all the way down to one or even less, and it could take about to a week, or you can even finish it in a day if you really want your students to do that. Although that defeats the purpose of mastery in the first place. And then I kind of included some examples of what students would see. So you can see that chapter two, it says, "Hooray, you've learned everything for today. Take a short break." So it physically makes the students take a break and then they have to come back like the next day to learn, which is aggravating sometimes for students because, they start late, but we make sure to try to tell them to start early. And then lastly, there's some little analytics that I included on the right. So this is from a student that took the assignment. You can see that some of the questions were hard, easy, how many times they did it, how many times they got it correct, and their percentages as well. So the analytics feature is also really cool in Sarago. Now we move on to ChatGPT, which introduces a different kind of learning experience because its main affordance is conversation. Instead of delivering structured content or guiding practice like the other tools, it allows learners to explore ideas, ask follow up questions, and get explanations in real time. So, in a digital learning environment, students might use AI to brainstorm discussion responses, clarify confusing concepts, or think through an assignment before they start writing it. And when it's framed as like a thinking partner instead of just a little shortcut, it can support deeper reflection and help students build confidence as they work through ideas. And one of the main things I like to tell students is to go ahead and the first prompt is be my tutor. That's a good way to go around it without having to always just take your little shortcuts. That way it's teaching you rather than you just looking at the information and copying and pasting. So these examples show that technologies are not really interchangeable. Video structures understanding, adaptive platforms reinforce mastery, and AI supports that generative thinking. So matching these affordances to instructional design is the key to actually meaningful technology integration. Now we're going into the sections framework. The sections framework gives a practical way to think through technology choices instead of just asking what a tool can do. And when I look at sections, I'm really asking a series of like design questions. So, who are learners and what do they need? How easy is the tool to use without creating extra friction? Is the investment realistic in terms of cost and time? And then does it actually support the learning goal, not just look engaging and pretty? And then, of course, I think about how students interact with the experience, whether the tool fits into existing workflows or if it helps build connections, and whether privacy and data protection are addressed as well. And then instead of treating sections like a checklist, I see it more as a way to make intentional decisions about when technology actually belongs in learning instead of, like I said, just making it look pretty. Now, to actually apply these sections, I thought about a realistic scenario, designing a learning experience inside MindTap as like the main digital environment. So I'm kind of using MindTap, our Cengage learning platform, as the learning management system here, and we also connect to the learning management system too. So yeah, you can kind of put them both and sync them all together. But I like to put some of the popular learning management systems there. So Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, Brightspace D2L, or Desire to Learn. And then, of course, I included a picture of what the MindTap would look like if I were to go and make it. So, I guess if the goal is to introduce like a challenging concept, I might include an interactive video from Edpuzzle. Uh, and then the affordances help guide like the attention and allow learners to engage with the material as they watch instead of just passively viewing. And then for reinforcement, Sarago mastery activities, of course, would support spaced practice and help studies or help students revisit terminology or foundational ideas over time. And then, of course, last but not least, when learners need that support while developing their thinking, uh, maybe preparing like a little discussion response or working through the assignment, ChatGPT could act as that conversational support tool for brainstorming or clarification. We also have now a student assistant built within MindTap that is for certain textbooks that it comes with, and it can actually guide students along. We've already put into it that it can't answer directly for them. So they do get students do get a little upset when they're asking, just what is the answer? And it'll say, sorry, I can't tell you that, but here is a roundabout way to go about it. So not just ChatGPT, but we have our own AI in our own products now. And then using sections helps me think about how these tools work together inside one little environment rather than treating them as like the separate add-ons. And again, that's just a plus too that MindTap can actually be integrated into a learning management system. So it really does make it whole since, a lot of places or a lot of institutions require you use the learning management system. So it is nice that it goes into there and it could grade sync as well. Now, we get to the key takeaways, and my key takeaways are not all technology supports learning in the same way. And that's really the main takeaway from this presentation. Video, adaptive mastery tools like Sarago that I just talked about, AI, and all of them offer different strengths based on what they allow learners to do. And so instead of choosing tools because they look engaging, starting with affordances helps us match technology to the actual learning goal. And the sections framework adds another layer by helping us think through context, usability, and implementation before deciding what actually belongs in the experience. All right. Here are my references, you all. Please let me know what you thought, and thank you so much for watching my presentation.